Welcome to the Real Estate Syndication Show. Whether you are a seasoned investor or building a new real estate business, this is the show for you. Whitney Sewell talks to top experts in the business. Our goal is to help you master real estate syndication. And now your host, Whitney Sewell.
This is your daily real estate syndication show. I'm your host, Whitney Sewell. Today, our guest is Sam Wilson. Sam and I actually met probably a couple of years ago or longer, maybe 3 years ago at some conferences. It's been incredible to see his growth in this business. And you're going to hear numerous things about his story today that has helped him to grow fast and to scale. And he's an active investor in self-storage, parking, retail, multifamily, RV parks, and some single-family homes as well. He hosts the How to Scale Commercial Real Estate podcast, where he interviews real estate experts to give listeners the tips, tools, tricks to scale their investment portfolio. And in addition to his years of real estate experience, he also has a diverse background in business ownership, building, construction, and management. I'm pretty sure Sam also has a daily podcast that he started. And so it's incredible to hear just how he's pushed through that to make that happen. I don't know too many people who are crazy enough to have a daily show, but he is one of them. And but he goes through some of those systems today, but really through the decision-making of tackling large things like that, whether it's a daily show to just, being the willingness to mess up, right? To keep moving, and the ability to even say no as opposed to yes, as we all struggle as entrepreneurs. But I know you're going to enjoy the show. Sam Wilson, welcome to the show. I remember you and I meeting, it's been 2 or 3 years ago, maybe longer now. I don't remember now. And we've had different connections over the past couple of years. It's been incredible to see your growth and the things you've accomplished and just the connections we've had, over different points over the last couple of years. But I just want to welcome you to the show, man, and give the listeners a little bit about, where you're located, what you're doing right now. And let's talk about your syndication business.
Sure. Sounds great. Well, Whitney, thanks for having me on the show. Certainly appreciate it. I'm located in Memphis, Tennessee. I have a very short memory. So you asked me one question and I don't remember what the rest of them even were.
No, just ultimately, tell us about your business, what your focus is, maybe a couple of details on getting there.
Yeah, sure. So the business I'm involved in right now, we're buying mainly multifamily properties in the Southeast. Have invested in some self-storage portfolios, as well as have bought some raw land where we're building some boat and RV storage up in Missouri. So kind of got my hands in a variety of different asset classes. I'm a passive investor in a lot of different asset classes. I was talking about off air. I'm a passive investor in one of your deals, a passive investor in some other self-storage deals in RV parks. Have previously bought parking lots. I mean, really have touched all the major asset classes, minus maybe office in commercial, real office and industrial, or two I've not messed with yet. And I don't really have any or aspirations to, but laser focusing, I guess, coming back. Maybe we'll talk about this in a little bit, but those are really right now is storage and multifamily opportunities.
Why don't you speak to, since you brought it up, why don't you speak to that, like just investing in multiple asset classes like that, either as an operator or as an LP, how your thoughts behind that and why not focusing on, let's say, one or two?
Yeah, well, as an LP, I love it. I mean, it's great because obviously your skin in the game is the money. And once that's deployed and your due diligence, of course, I mean, doing the due diligence on the deal and the operator, it can make or break the deal. But once you're invested, it's basically hands off, right? So I think as an LP, it's a great strategy because I think you want to be across different asset classes. Just from a regulatory risk, from a diversification, you're going to get different returns in different asset classes. So might as well be a little bit diversified on that front. I think as an LP, as an active sponsor, I'm not sure that it's the best strategy, to be honest with you. Just because it leaves my focus a little bit more divided maybe than I would love. And I think, and again, coming full circle to all this is really narrowing down to two asset classes that I already know pretty well. So as opportunities present themselves, move forward, but because it's not adding a lot of bandwidth. But, if it's something where I went out to 3 or 4, I think it would make no sense at all.
Yeah. That's awesome. But you mentioned like raw land and some things you all are doing around that. And I think, are you all doing some like even auction stuff and distressed stuff as well?
I used to, that's how I cut my teeth, was in the single family space, was going to auctions. The first property I bought was an auction. I tell this story, probably told it too many times, but I always say that my getting into real estate was just the good Lord having mercy on an idiot, because I woke up one morning and I didn't know what I was doing in my life. And I went to an auction, I bought a house, and 3 hours later, I'm in the real estate business. So we flipped that house, made a pile of money. And I said, hey, I can just keep doing this. And here we are 8 years later, I'm still in real estate. So it's just kind of a hilarious, evolution of that business or this business. But so auctions, yes, used to participate, used to buy a ton at foreclosure auctions across the state of Tennessee. Had everything from, guys going out and driving neighborhoods and taking photographs of homes and loading them up. So then all we had to do is show up at the auctions with cash and buy the houses. And that was a chaotic business. Margins got tight, competition got stiff, and we bowed out. So I no longer participate in that side of the business.
Yeah, no, it's just interesting because I think there's probably many listeners who can relate to that story, even, getting started 8 years ago. And now, man, you're having a syndication business and you've grown, you're doing all these things. It's just great to see that. I think when you're these people that are listening, that some are 8 years ago for you, right? They're still back there thinking, man, I just can't even see that. I don't even think that I can do that. And I know that, you and I were talking before the show too, just like the get it done mentality and being willing to fail. And why don't you speak to that a little bit? I know there's a lot of people you're just scared, right, to move forward.
Right. Yeah. I would say that one strength I have is being willing to fail forward. And my wife loves me and hates me for it, because she gets dragged along the ride. She's like, oh gosh, here we go again. But being willing just to go out and just do it and take your licks. I would say that my successes are far fewer than my failures. So I can tell you how to fail. I think one day I'll write a book on it, which is, I don't know if probably there's a book out there already, but how to fail, right? I can tell you how to do it. And I'm trying to, slowly fail less, of course. But I think one of the things that I've really been able to do is just say, okay, I can do this. I can do it. I just need to figure out how. And that's a different mentality than, oh crud, what's going to go wrong? I mean, I'll tell you right now, as you well know, things are going to go wrong. Mistakes are going to happen. Stuff's going to get sideways. You're going to make a mistake on an inspection. You're going to make a mistake on an investor communication. It's just, things will go wrong, and you're just going to have to learn from those and pivot. Versus being afraid, people still standing going, gosh, can I do this? Should I do this? I don't know. Well, don't worry about making mistakes. Just be prepared when they happen and know that you can recover from it. So that's
there's too many moving pieces, right? I mean, there's something's going to happen. Like, be prepared for something unexpected to happen, right? You just might as well be prepared for it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's how we've made our success is just hammering it out and eventually figuring out the right way to do it by doing it wrong the first 10 times. So yeah.
How do you think you had the confidence or the boldness or just the willingness to be okay with, knowing that things like that are going to happen, right? It's very difficult to, I hear stories all the time about people deciding to leave their JOB and the risk behind that and all these things, to move into real estate. But there's a lot of fear there, right? Well, what if I mess up? What if I lose everything? How did you think about all of that at that time? Even with your wife as well. I mean, it's a big decision, right? Together, to make a transition like that or to push a syndication business.
Yeah. Well, I guess I grew up in an entrepreneurial family. So we grew up without much, probably on the poor end of the spectrum. And the only thing we ever knew was what I call the hustle. Just get out and go do it. We were hungry. So you went to work. And I can remember, being in the single digits, going to job sites, working with dad till 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night. And it's just what you did. And so growing up with that kind of mentality of, hey, you just do what it takes, it really helps. I never had to have that fear of leaving a JOB because I never really had one. It was always just go grind it out, So I can't speak to what that apprehension or fear could be leaving the steady paycheck because I've never really known one. But I can imagine it's real. But getting over that is obviously there's pieces that go into that: education, finding mentors, putting your safety nets in place so you don't completely botch it. But, I think just knowing that you can do it and having the confidence in yourself that you're prepared and going and doing is probably the only way to get it done.
Yeah. I think I've heard you talk about also like preferring to be uncomfortable. And I can completely relate to that. But would you elaborate for the listeners as well?
So, yeah, one of the things that, and before we won't get into the whole why my morning routine has gotten completely disrupted. It's called 3 kids that I didn't have until February 1st. But, I had a morning routine, right? And so every year I set out in my journal, which is like, I put a mantra for the year. And I usually do it sometime mid-December. I write out, financial goals, I write out personal goals, I write out health goals. And I say, okay, this is what I want 2021 to look like. And I kind of put a theme at the top. And my theme for 2021 was to become uncomfortable in everything I do. And I can tell you here, we're recording this August 25th. I've hit that goal and I've hit it very well. And it's been one of the hardest years of my life. Also one of the most incredible growth years. And so I think being uncomfortable and putting yourself in that position to, if it makes you uncomfortable, it's probably where you need to be, right? If it's lifting weights and working out, physically, if it's maintaining physical health, is that comfortable? No, man. It means you got to eat right. It means you got to go to the gym, 3 to 5 times a week. I mean, you need to think before you pound a bag of Doritos and drink a Mountain Dew. Like, okay, well, that's 3 workouts if I eat that, which I don't really like either one of those anyway, but that's just my example. So, becoming uncomfortable is really the key, I think, for most people. We as people naturally don't want the discomfort, right? I want the comfy couch, man. I want the life of ease, the beach and the free drink in hand, like easy street. But that's not where growth happens. So I think if you want to revolutionize your life, you've got to start with naming 3 to 5 things that make you just ridiculously uncomfortable and go do them.
I remember a few years back, me contemplating mentally, like being ready to commit to things that I would normally be very uncomfortable about, and like trying to do it quickly so I didn't have a chance to like think about it much. Right. And I remember I was going to this little real estate club in town, and they finally asked me to speak one time about something, and immediately I'm like, like, oh no, but I just said, sure, I'll do it, right. And that pushed me, to grow, right? I had to prepare something. I had to think through it. I had to stand up in front of everybody and speak and deliver a little bit and get some questions and feedback. But that was great for me. It was so good for me. And then I'm in a group where a group called C12. I encourage people to look it up, but there's just some Christian entrepreneurs, amazing other guys and gals who have been in business for a long time. But anyway, recently they gave out this bracelet that says "Pursue Discomfort," and I thought I'm going to wear that for a while because that's just a great reminder. Like, keep stretching yourself, right? And it helps you to. I mean, it really separates, right? The men from the boys in business almost, right? Like, who's really going to put themselves out there? Because you understand that's where growth happens, right? As opposed to those that just, hey, I'm going to stay back here where it's comfortable. And they're not going to have those same results, right? They're not going to have the same results.
Right. Yeah. 100%, man. You said it. Yeah. I love that. Pursue discomfort. Yeah. And it's hard because there are periods where obviously rest is needed. But I think the idea is well understood that growth happens in discomfort. So
yeah, and you say there's times where rest is needed. Speak to that. Like how do you say no to things? Like no versus yes. Early on, it's like, man, you're going to say yes to everything, but eventually that table turns.
Oh, 100%. And I think that's been one of the things in my real estate journey. I went from single family to lease options, to, doing owner finance sales, to, obviously buying the courthouse steps, and then doing parking lots and parking garages, which is a great business. But, that kind of got turned on its head in 2020. Just doing multiple iterations of things, and also just saying yes to everything as it came across the real estate desk. Like, oh yeah, sure, we can pursue that. That'd be fun. Oh yeah, we can do that. That'd be fun. Oh yeah. And what I found is that in the end, I had so many yeses out there, and man, I was frazzled and just worn out. And so what I'm trying to do in my life right now is the phrase I'm using is why yes is more power, or why no is more powerful than yes. So I'm trying to switch the size of my buttons. I think I told you this offline, but I had this giant yes button, this little tiny no button. And now I'm trying to switch those around where my yes button is really small. And I have to think very long and hard before I say, yes, I'm going to commit to that. And I've done that even when it comes to, syndications and a lot of things that are coming across my desk. I mean, 99% of those go in the no pile now. It's like, no, we're not pursuing that further, because I need, when I hit that yes button, one, to know I mean it, and two, to know I have the resources to get it done. And with that laser focus, man, it's really revolutionized kind of my own branding. It's revolutionized what I'm known for. It's also helped me get more stuff done in the end. I mean, I'm eliminating stuff. I had some rental properties here in Memphis that were kind of legacy rental, single family rental properties, great cash flowing properties. Don't care. Punt them. Sell them. That's what 2021. Just, you got to go. You are part of the yes button that I need to make very, very small. And it's been amazing what it's done in my mind, because it allows me to think and focus and get more stuff done that moves the needle really in the end. I mean, it's even things all the way down to just getting rid of possessions. Like, I'm emptying. I used to be in the trades, and so I just got legacy tools this stuff's just junk in the garage. They're great tools, very expensive. I've got guys I can hire that know how to use those, right? Like, it's more useful for these guys to go out and use these tools. They get to do what they do, but they do best, and I get to go what I do best: empty the garage. It goes on the Buy Nothing Memphis Facebook group. Just people come and just pick it up, just get it out. Let me focus on what I'm good at. So that's why I say no is more powerful than yes, and how it's really helping me grow.
If you're interested in multifamily real estate but don't know how or where to begin, our guide on how to start investing in multifamily real estate breaks down everything you need to know about identifying good investments plus real-world examples. Download your copy in the show notes or visit lifebridgecapital.com/start now to start your journey in multifamily real estate. That's incredible. I appreciate you elaborating, because it's so much about that focus, like you talked about, right? I mean, it is so much about focus. And I'll tell you a book that I just read that I'm going to start recommending. It's called The Perfect Day Formula. I don't know if you've heard of that or not. Craig Ballantyne, I think's his name. I'm just trying to remember it off the top of my head, but man, that's going to be a new recommendation for me for a while, because it's so much about what you just said. Couple things he talked about. He talked about his morning routine in a big way, and even things like, man, don't be connected to email, until like 2 p.m. Like he says, find your magic time and, really focus on those key things, during that time. Don't have all these distractions where you're being reactive all day versus proactive. And that goes right along with what you just said. Man, when you can say no, to all these things that are pulling at you all day long, man, that yes becomes so much stronger, right? And you're so much better at that thing that you're focused on. That's incredible. Well, is on that line of thought though, like, what's the end goal? Like, where's Sam headed, either business or personally? What do you see as the end goal?
Yeah. So, I mean, for us, it's continuing multifamily and self-storage syndications. I mean, I think both of those are excellent places to be for varying reasons. Right now, what I'm doing is a lot of co-GPing with a couple of sponsors that I know very well. It's a great way for me right now in business to grow both my investor base and allow me to kind of get the front row seat. I was an LP in multifamily syndications before I became a co-GP. So I wanted to see that from the LP side, which is great. I learned that, for several years of investing as an LP. And now I get to come in as a co-GP on those, raise capital, kind of grow that base and my brand. And at some point, when it makes sense, then grow the side of the business where I'm the lead sponsor on the deal. I'm not there right now, and I'm okay with that. This right now, I've got enough irons in the fire, both with family and business and, just what we got going, with my own show, my own podcast, that it's like, okay, there's enough things going right now that I can focus on these and do them well. And in the future, I'd love to start being the lead sponsor on deals, but we're doing great doing what we're doing right now. And I'm actually really enjoying it. So, that's it's keep things as they are right now.
So since you've been on the LP and GP side of numerous opportunities now, what do you like to see as far as preparing for a downturn? And you can speak to that as an LP, or on the GP side. What's your thoughts behind like being prepared for that?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, preparing for a downturn, it's tough. I mean, what does that mean? I don't know. I do think things are good. Things are very frothy. Do I think prices are necessarily going to change? I don't know. I mean, we've printed trillions of dollars. Those dollars have to go somewhere.
I think it's $120 billion every month that's being
the Fed
printed.
Is buying, right. It's nuts. Yeah, the Fed's printing it, but they're using it. I think they're buying back. I don't understand the whole process, but they're pumping that money into the economy, plus the trillions of stimulus that's come out. So my thinking is that even if there's a recession, I doubt we're going to see many prices of commercial real estate, especially multifamily, go down because there's so much money chasing yield. I mean, where that money's got to get employed somewhere. So, I mean, it might be worth less. Sure. I mean, it is going to be worth less. Our money is inflating and we know it. But do I see prices going down? Preparing for a downturn, you have to find well-positioned assets. I want to find stuff in growth markets. I want to find stuff that is, lesser of a regulatory risk. In the multifamily side of things, South Carolina is better than North Carolina. I have assets in both, but South Carolina tends to be a little bit easier on the landlords and the ownership side than the North Carolina side. So looking for stuff like that, I think is important to prepare for a downturn. Also looking at jobs and demographics. What was their economic occupancy versus, obviously physical occupancy? What was the economic occupancy from 2020 until now? And just, reviewing those things and going, okay, why are people living here? Is it below market rents? I mean, we're closing this deal in Columbia right now, and it's taken 8 to 10 months to even find it. And it's like, and there was no action before that. So spending a lot of time sifting through enormous amounts of deals to find the one diamond in the rough is really just, I think, one of the ways that you can position yourself to know that you're buying right. I mean, that's always been the mantra in real estate, right? Buy right. And so those are some of the things we're doing. Then also you look at self-storage. It's great because it's easy, it's easy to evict. There's very little regulatory risk around that. So it doesn't pay. 30 days later, they're out and you had a little, auction from the newspaper and off you go.
Yeah.
I like that as well, just because it's a lot easier on the, just from the regulatory side and from the political risk. So,
right. Yeah, there's no bodies living inside those units, right? You hope. Right. Majority of the time anyway.
Yeah, you hope. Exactly.
Sam, I know like you, especially coming from, investing as an LP in numerous projects and now growing your syndication business. What's been your best source for meeting new investors now and growing, as a syndicator?
Yeah. So, for me, you're saying for me, how do I find investors in our deals or
right. Like, I just wonder like how that relates to you being LP in so many deals. Now you're on the GP side. But I just wonder like, what's your best source for meeting new investors now? And then maybe we'll talk about some things you learned that you're applying from being an LP.
Yeah. And I think this is one of the things that this goes with my discomfort or everything I do. I want to be uncomfortable. Part of it was launching a podcast this year, or I guess in December 1st. I, like you, started a daily podcast, which is, kudos to you for achieving the 1,000th, I can't even say that right, episode. That's dedication, man. That's and people don't realize how hard and how time consuming it is to put out a daily podcast. Even if you're doing none of your own editing, it's still a lot of work, which I'm not, and it's still a lot of work. But so I think doing that was something I ran into, back in November when I had to wrestle with, is this something I want to do? Put out a daily podcast. And why would people want to talk to me? Okay, well, they probably don't, but I'm going to put it out anyway. And lo and behold, here we are at episode, whatever, 270 or wherever we are today. So that's been a great source, putting your name out there, putting your hat in the ring. I don't like publicity. I don't like talking about myself. I don't like, doing stuff on social media. I'm a total introvert. So, getting stuff out there and getting it online and that's been it, man, is just being, as the phrase that I think we've heard so many times, becoming industry thought leader. And it's amazing what positioning yourself in that realm will do to develop your authority in the space, which is, just really what you, and it's not a fake it till you make it. I've got the experience. I just don't really want to talk about it, but you got to do it. So that's it. Just continuously putting yourself out there.
Congratulations, by the way. I was just telling Sam before we got started, I just listened to his show over the weekend. He just does a great job. And 270 shows, daily show. no joke. People ask me all the time, is it worth it? What, why did you do that? All these things, and I say, you know what? I don't recommend it to most, but it's been obviously it's blessed our business but I just want to say congratulations. Most people don't make it past 20 shows, even doing a weekly show. So look at you, that is incredible. That is a big accomplishment. Speak to that right there quickly. Like what gave you the confidence to do a daily show? I mean, that's insane, Sam. Why would you do that?
Well, a couple of things. One, you and some others, carved the path before me. So, success leaves clues, right? So I got to look to you and I said, oh, look, Whitney did it. Well, Whitney can do it. I mean, here's the path and there's his footsteps. I just try to follow in his footsteps. And I do a lot of that. Shoot, man, I've looked at some of your artwork and sent it off to some other guys and said, hey, I don't know. I like his, but just use his as an example and run off of it. So sorry, I cheated from you. But success leaves clues, right? So why not? Like, if you can do it, I can do it, I think. I mean, so that's it, is that, guys like you have gone before me, Joe Fairless, those are some of the people that I've looked to and said, okay, they can do it. So can I.
No, that's incredible. And on that thought, how are you disciplined to do a daily show? Like, when do you do that? And then I want to talk about, any daily habits that you have that have helped lead to success, but also include, when do you do that many recordings?
Yeah. So when I first started out, I was doing them every day. I mean, Monday through Friday, I didn't care. I wanted people to come on. Like, if you will speak to me and you're in real estate, I want you to come on the show, because, there was less confidence about it as you cranked it up. Like, okay, I just need people that might be willing to talk to this random guy in Memphis, Tennessee. And so I did it every day of the week. And what I found was that after a few months of that, it was really crushing my schedule. I could get nothing meaningful done when you had a podcast at 9, 11, 1, 3, and 4, because then you had just 45 minutes in here. Deep work doesn't happen in 45-minute blocks, man. I need 2 or 3 hours of nothing on my calendar to make any meaningful progress on moving the needle items. So quickly found out that I need to go 2 days a week or 3 days a week. So I went 3 days a week, and now I do it on 2 days a week, where I just have Tuesday, Thursdays. My calendar is open from 8 to 5. And we can book them as deep as we want, and it's great. And usually, I keep it to 4 to 6 a day if I'm trying to build up the base. I got really far ahead of myself at one point, 70 episodes in the can. I'm like, okay, maybe to start working some of those down a little bit to make them more relevant and timely. But so that's it. Really block scheduling all of those is the short answer. Or should have been the short answer to your question.
No, that's incredible. I get that question all the time, right? I mean, and exactly what you just said. People used to say they might record 4 or 5 interviews in a day, and they were just shot. They couldn't handle it. And I'm like, there were times I'd have to do 12 to 15 in a day. And again, I wouldn't recommend that to most people, but you just do what you got to do, right? It's kind of like what you've been talking about, like pushing forward and keeping on moving, and willingness to mess up, but keep pushing, right? No, it's what you got to do what it takes. But anyway, congratulations. Any other daily habits though that have just helped you to grow, helped you to have success?
Yeah. Well, exercise is obviously it. I always say health is wealth, right? I'd much rather be a guy that has a modest income and be ridiculously healthy and I unfortunately am front row seat to this alternative life, which is to be extremely wealthy. Unfathomably wealthy and just not healthy. It's like, what quality of life do you have if you're not taking care of your own body? So one of the things that, I spend a lot of time on is trying to focus on what I eat. I do really good with what I eat, and then, really focusing on getting in the gym and getting exercise in. So, spending time focusing, because that's amazing how that translates over into what I do in the office. I'll climb the office walls if I haven't had physical exertion that day. It's just not good for anybody. So, that's one of the things it's mostly a daily habit. It's a 5-day-a-week habit. The weekends are crazy with the kids. So there's really just no opportunity for that. But, that's a Monday through Friday thing. My morning routine was awesome, up until February, which, we don't have time for that again on this show, but right now the morning routine really is trying to get up before the kids do. We've got one that, doesn't sleep real well and has some problems at night. So she gets up, long before the sun rises, and it usually begins with someone screaming. So that's, soothing a 3-year-old that's screaming is really the beginning of my day, and lasts about an hour and a half. every morning. So I used to have an awesome morning routine, my book, just reciting what my goals are, looking at the goals for the year, reflection time and really going through that, which I miss that. That's something that really I value. And I think about it a lot. It's like, and I'm grateful to have had that experience prior to this where I can still go back to that and say, yeah, those are the things that I've set out for 2021. It's still in the back of my mind, just maybe not every day. So those are a couple of things off the top of the bat or off the top of the head. They're like, yeah, those are important daily routines. No,
that's awesome. And yeah, children definitely change our routines to say the least. And yeah, those seasons, it just happens, right? It's a must. But appreciate your perseverance through that, even keeping the daily show going. And man, but what about, how do you like to give back?
Yeah. So the kid story, I mean, one of the things big on our hearts is kids, and love kids. My wife and I can't have children. It's just the way it is. I pumped a better part of a life savings into attempting to fix that, and it didn't work out. We can't have kids. So the 3 kids that came into the house they're foster kids. And so devoting the better part of 2021 to them has been a big deal. Small children, protecting the innocent, protecting those that can't protect themselves, and giving them hope and just at least a shot is a big deal. So that's probably the number one thing. That's an all-consuming number one thing for us right now, is taking kids from a trauma and abuse background and giving them a loving, stable home. So I'd say that's top of the list at the moment.
That's what I was hoping you would mention that when I asked that question, because man, it is such a give back. It is such a give back. I love your all's heart for that and for these children, and because it's not the easy path, right? But man, you're just, helping breathe life into these children. And you and I have talked about stories, personal stories about these children and stuff. And it's just incredible what you and your wife are doing. It just shows your all's heart and your care for them and for others, and just appreciate your transparency around that as well. I think that just says a lot about your character, which honestly, I care more about someone's character before I ever think about investing with them. Right. Sure. So I just love that, about you and your desire to give back in that way. Obviously, everybody knows about our desire to help children. And so it's definitely a direct connection there. So, but Sam, appreciate your time, you being on the show. Just your desire to help others to think through everything you've had to, like over the last 8 years, moving, from that first house that you purchased to, where you're at now, and just being willing to fail forward, as you talked about, and keeping on moving, willingness to say no more than yes, and some difficulties behind that, structuring your day. Even to doing a daily podcast is just incredible. But tell the listeners how they can get in touch with you, learn more about you, and find your podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. So the name of the podcast is How to Scale Commercial Real Estate. We don't spend a lot of time really talking about the basics of real estate. So it's something that really probably a lot along your lines, Whitney, already has a firm understanding of what's going on. But that's the name of the podcast. You can find me at brickeninvestmentgroup.com. That's BRICKEN investmentgroup.com. Also have a free download there. One of the things that I've struggled with, especially early on, both as an active sponsor and as a limited partner in deals, was finding the deals that made sense for me. Because obviously there's no shortage of deals being pumped out there that you can review. And especially early on, it's hard to know which one's a right fit. So I've got a checklist at brickeninvestmentgroup.com/checklist. It's called How to Vet a Deal in 10 Minutes. So it will really help you refine your criteria, walks you through step by step, and help you figure out whether a deal is something you should investigate further, or if it's just a hard pass. I know I've spent hours looking at deals and in the end going, nah, it's probably not for me. Shoot, man, you can figure this out in 10 minutes now. It'll kind of help you mentally get over that, or make your no button bigger is I think what it'll eventually end up do for you. So you go, no, no, no. And so when you find the one that's a yes, it'll just help you get there faster.
Thank you for listening to the Real Estate Syndication Show, brought to you by LifeBridge Capital. LifeBridge Capital works with investors nationwide to invest in real estate, while also donating 50% of its profits to assist parents who are committing to adoption. LifeBridge Capital, making a difference, one investor and one child at a time. Connect online at www.lifebridgecapital.com for free material and videos to further your success.